30 plus co-creators, 45 plus events, 100 plus speakers, 100% online. Startups, scale-ups, policymakers, students, corporates. Connecting changemakers. Welcome to Upstream 2020.
In 2019, more than 200,000 companies were founded in the Netherlands, but only a handful eventually grows to a turnover of more than 1, 5 or 10 million euros. Why is that the case, and what can you do to become one of those few companies that do succeed? My name is John van Schagen, and next to me two right honorable gentlemen, Kees de Jong. He's the team captain of Nlgroeit and also founder of several companies. Kees, welcome. And Hans Scheffer, the co-founder of Helloprint.
Thanks.
Yeah, before we do a brief introduction, I would like to say that you have any questions for these people, for the people here on the table, please use the form on your screen. You can use the plus button on the right side on your screen at the bottom. Kees, I've been told that you want to share a big secret with us today.
Yes, it's going to be an exciting, thrilling secret,
yeah?
But we're only going to reveal it at the end of this session. So people have to stay for the whole program, and at the end of the program, we're going to reveal the secret.
And okay, you're going to reveal it, right? Yeah.
But it's really something that entrepreneurs can use in their daily business.
Yes. One of my hobbies is I would like to share my own experiences as an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Because I was helped in my path as an entrepreneur by some people with some good advice at the right moment.
Yeah.
And one of my hobbies or passions is to share those insights with other entrepreneurs on the moments where they need it the most. So this is what I'm hopefully going to do in the next 20 minutes or 30 minutes.
Well, we have invited you because you're a founder of several companies, of course, but also let's do a little bit about Nlgroeit. What is actually the purpose of the organization?
Nlgroeit, indeed, I'm also a co-founder of Nlgroeit.
Yeah.
And Nlgroeit has a mission to enhance the growth capacity of the Dutch SMEs, so the small and medium-sized companies. We feel that that many entrepreneurs, we want to help them grow by creating more ambition and also link them to, for instance, a mentor. We have a lot of mentors within our organization who help those entrepreneurs for free. So there's no cost. It's not a commercial model. There's one entrepreneur helping another entrepreneur.
And how important is that you have someone who, well, actually can guide you during tough moments?
Well, for me, it was in September 2002 when my mentor, who I didn't really understood he was my mentor, but he told me, Kees, you've built a great company. We had a couple of companies. We had about 120 people at the time. Yeah. You built a great company, but you didn't develop yourself as an entrepreneur. So I took his advice, and I went studying. I studied how to fast grow my company. This was a course on MIT, and I learned so much. And with that knowledge, I exceeded any sort of ambition that I thought I had before, and the growth went easier, better, faster. And I thought, why didn't I know this before? Yeah. So my mentor put me on the right path, and this is what I think all entrepreneurs should have. And it's not a luxury; it's a necessity. A mentor who has been in your shoes, who then can say, "Okay, you're now here. If you want to get there, you might want to consider these and these steps."
Yeah. But at the end, the entrepreneur has to take the decision himself.
Yes, of course, because nobody's forcing. I mean, the whole point about being an entrepreneur is you are in charge of your ship. Yeah. But it's very helpful when you have others who understand you. So not like an advice, not a coach, but somebody who was in your shoes before.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah. Kees mentioned personal development. Hans, is that also something you'd like to do?
Well, I think it's super important for everyone. If you are an entrepreneur, you will experience different stages in your entrepreneurship. And I remember quite vividly when I started my first company when I was like 18 or 19 years old. Yeah.
And that's how many years ago?
That's 10 years ago. No,
All right.
20 years ago.
Yeah, right, right.
Yeah. So I remember quite vividly that I was starting that company. I was full of self-confidence, maybe even arrogance.
Yeah.
And I knew it all. But now I know that that was not particularly the case.
No.
And I remember that I met a few people in my life, and a coach can come from basically every angle.
Yeah.
It can come from a new partner. It can be a supplier to your business.
Yeah.
And it can be your next founding partner of a company. And I experienced so much coaching from these particular people, but I always experienced that afterwards, how important that basically was.
So what was actually the best advice someone has given you like the last 3 or 4 months?
Ooh, that's
a tough question. Or maybe the last 4 or 5 years.
Well, I think that's the last 4 or 5 months. We're in the middle of Corona, and we don't want to talk too much about that. But let's talk about the future. But obviously, these were very challenging times, and not giving up and keep your persistence to get eventually where you believe in is, I think, the best advice that I got over the course of the last months.
Yeah.
And in particular in these very moving and challenging times, that's sometimes it's super important to hear that from, not from the mirror you're looking in, but from somebody else who is saying to you, look, keep your beliefs, keep your dreams, even when the markets and the environment is super challenging, and keep your persistence to get what you really want for yourself, but most and foremost for the company and for the people who are doing this day in and day out. And I think that's very important, that you sometimes hear that, and you can search for a mentor in that. You can talk with your peers, but I think everyone you meet and experience, from it can be friends, or you can be your coach, or can be a founding partner, or an investor, or even an advisor, can help you learn more about yourself and your intrinsic motivation to do things. Yeah,
I don't know if it's the case, but there might be some viewers who still don't know who Helloprint is, one of the leading tech companies of Rotterdam. And your goal is to become the world's leading printing platform. Can you give us a really briefly introduction?
Yeah, so big words. So Helloprint, founded in 2013 by 4 young guys with a ridiculous dream to become the biggest print platform in the world. Yeah. We're not there yet. It's a long-term goal that we have, but where we still firmly believe in. And we all have the intrinsic motivation. We're now with 160 people across
both in Rotterdam as Valencia.
Yeah, so we have our growth and innovation engine here in Rotterdam, where we basically develop our business from a centralized and super structured perspective, so that we can be as scalable as possible. And we have centralized our customer service department fully in Valencia with 22 nationalities, 85 people there, where we serve the countries where we are active in Europe. We have some small local offices, but that's not something where we want to invest in.
It's a bit like Uber and Airbnb, because you don't actually own the printers.
Yeah, but that's the only comparison that you can make, I think. Yeah. So we don't print anything ourselves. No. That was our firm belief from the start. We want to build a very scalable company where you can easily launch new products, new categories, etc. And if you want to scale quick, then you need to be as asset light as possible. Because that increases your agility, I think, to grow.
Yeah, Kees, Hans mentions a very interesting thing. He says at the beginning of the company he wanted to be the world's biggest, the world's largest. Do you think a lot of entrepreneurs in the Netherlands are maybe a bit too shy? They have a lack of ambition?
Well, first of all, Hans, what he mentioned earlier, he started when he was 18 with his first company. So Helloprint was not his first company. No. He figured out how the world worked and then decided, you know what, with what I know now, my goal is to build the largest in the world. If I may, I had a similar experience.
Yeah, still.
I told you about, I did this training at MIT. That was a fast growth course. I built my companies. By the way, I think it's important to say we are both entrepreneurs from Rotterdam, right? So my first company was in Rotterdam, and is still in Rotterdam.
The most beautiful city of the world.
Okay,
best city, exactly.
And the best place.
Most entrepreneurial
have your company.
city in the world, but nobody knows it yet. Okay.
You have a bigger mouth, right?
We're definitely going to discuss that later on in the conversation.
So what happened? And what I mentioned, we had about 100, 110, 120 people, and I thought I was pretty successful.
Yeah.
And then I met another person who built a company which was about it was about 8,000 people, and he built that company in 7 years. And I was already for 10 years an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
And
so what do you thought at that moment?
Exactly. I felt very humiliated,
yeah.
and I felt humbled, because in my field I thought I was being like a local hero, like a king. And when I started to compare myself with others, then I thought, okay, why didn't I think bigger? Why?
Yeah.
So that was my answer. There's no reason not to think bigger. And this is exactly what Hans did the moment he figured out how the game worked. If you are able to build a company of 100, you can build a company of 1,000 and 5,000.
Yeah.
Or you know, in size or global the geographies that you are
yeah.
servicing.
Especially when you are a platform like Hans.
Yes, but sort of any company.
Yeah.
And the moment is, one of the issues with entrepreneurs, with myself, was you never see yourself as a person that could lead a company that is 10 times bigger than your company.
Yeah.
But the moment you understand that is possible without that many additional work,
yeah.
then there's so much more opportunity.
Yeah. So
and
ambition.
many entrepreneurs who are working really hard, long hours, don't see themselves yet on that level. And
yeah.
this is something that we have to help entrepreneurs to see, that the moment you start growing, things will be easier, faster, and not more difficult and,
yeah.
and harder work.
Yeah, and I think there's also another reason to project yourself as the largest or have a big ambition, and that is that if you, as a group of people, want to work somewhere, then you want to believe in something, and there need to be that big, hairy, audacious goal, for example, that might seem very unlikely, but yet still there is the likelihood or the chance, if you do everything right in the next couple of years, maybe 10 years, then you can get there. And I think that's super essential if you want to build a culture of high performance. What we try to do at Helloprint, then you need to have that bigger dreams. And because then the group of people, the team that is doing it day in and day out, which makes the difference, want to strive for that. And I think that's super important.
It gives purpose and it gives energy.
I really want to talk about the culture at Helloprint, because I've been told that's kind of special. But first we have some questions from the people who are watching. Hans, what is the hardest part of scaling up?
There are many areas.
Let's take 3.
So I think the hardest part of scaling up your company is scaling up the level of people that you have.
Yeah.
It's quite easy to grow your company into countries, although that also have their challenges, or in revenue, etc. But how do you cope with that in terms of culture and people? So to make the bridge to culture, I think everything is related to culture. Yeah. And I remember quite vividly when we were really in that scaling phase back in 2016. We were hiring every month. We have our hit week, or Helloprint International Training Week, every first week of the month, where we really try to onboard people in the right way. Yeah. By paying a lot of attention to them. But we had 30 people, 35 people, month over month. And we hired like 100 people in 3 months and 150 people in 6 months. Yeah. They came in via the front door and they walked out easily via the back door.
And that cost us a lot of money.
It cost us a lot of money, but it cost us our culture. And that was the reason that we said, okay, take a step back, take a helicopter view on what's now really going on in the company. How is that culture evolving? Yeah. And we soon figured out that we had a super strict recruitment mantra, as we call it. So very intense, check at the door and only hire the very best. Yeah. But if you need to hire so many people at once, then you lose sight on what's really important, because a certain area, a certain department really needs people to scale up. Yeah. And that learned us that you can only scale at a level that you can also scale your people. Yeah. So it's the other way around. So normally a company first grows and then tries to figure out what the hell is going on here, and then try to change the organizational structure and try to change the team. But I think that I've learned over the past that you first need to work on the team, you first need to work on the structure, and if that's all in place, then you can scale up your company, and not the other way around.
Yeah. So Kees, I can imagine that also changes your role as a founding father of the company.
Yeah, and there's two things.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, you have to look at your own scalability.
Yeah.
And this is also why it's important that you have somebody who can help you, because you never want yourself to be the problem of the organization. But you, as an entrepreneur, are mostly the last one to know.
Yeah, the bottleneck is always on top of the bottle.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
Well done.
I've learned that from you, Kees.
Yes.
Of
You spoke before.
Yeah, definitely.
So that's one. So you yourself, and the second most difficult thing, when you scale up, you see certain members of your team. They can cope, they can grow, and others cannot.
Yeah.
And it's so difficult then to move them out of the organization or move them sideways.
Or demote them, or
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that is difficult, but you have to do that if you honor them and honor the rest of the success of the organization. You have to take the difficult decisions while scaling up fast.
Is that something you also had to learn?
Yeah, sure. So your role in the organization is changing, and I think I was always quite a micromanager. I'm very sure if you ask my team right now, they will laugh and they will say, "Yeah, you still are that micromanager." But I think there's a huge difference between how I cope with that right now and how I did that in the past, and it's very difficult. You need to learn how to hire people who are better than you, and you need to trust on your own qualities and the qualities of the team. That in a growing organization, there's always room for more talent. So if the organization exponentially grows, or not even exponentially, but with hypergrowth or growth, then roles are changing, and you never have to be afraid that your role is changing unless you try to develop yourself. As well.
All right. I want to talk to you.
I would like to add something, and if you allow me, I mean, you're in charge of the time.
No, I think you are in charge.
You're in charge, Kees.
No, but I want to share a short story, because I led multiple companies. The smallest company was like the first company was a startup, and the largest company was a company of a couple of thousand of people on a global scale. But the most important moment was in 2004, because the work on my desk stacked up higher and higher. I hired an operational manager, but he wasn't doing the job right. So I do more and more hours and what have you. And then somebody else told me, okay, you need to hire this guy because he is really brilliant. He is in Madrid. You should hire him but he was 28 and he wanted to earn 100,000 euros plus 50,000 signing bonus.
Gee.
And I said, never in my life I'm gonna pay that. Anyway, long story short, in the end, I went to Madrid, I talked to him, he was really impressive. I still said I'm not going to hire him. My problems kept on going. And finally I hired him. And that was the pivoting change of my career.
But what did he actually do?
Well, first of all, he was so good, he took my problems away. And if you then work with really good people, then you see the difference. So you should commit yourself to finding better people that you think you can, and really convince them to work for you, because that makes all the difference. There was a second thing that happened. Because he was so good, he hired only other great people. So the level of the company went up, and my life became instantly better. And that was such an important learning, because before that, I was skew on the amount of money that I want to pay and whatever. If you work with the best people, your life is gonna.
We have a question about Rotterdam, and you're both from Rotterdam, of course. You're proud of being a real Rotterdammer. A Rotterdammer. Someone from Rotterdam. So a question to Hans and Kees. Why is Rotterdam a great place to start, grow and scale your business? Hans?
Yeah, so I am from the Rotterdam region.
Yeah, you're a Rotterdammer.
I'm born and raised in a very small town near Rotterdam, Krimpen. Okay. But the first time that I really stepped into Rotterdam entrepreneurial life, my first company, when I was 20, I was already located in Rotterdam. And the city always intrigues me. Why is this the best playground to develop your company? Because of the fact that the city is super, super honest. I think we are one of the most innovative areas in the Netherlands, and maybe outside that as well. It's very diverse, and there's always room for people who want to do something different. And that creative part of the city that really helps entrepreneurs grow, I think. And I'm not going to compare it to Amsterdam, or I'm not going to.
That was my next question.
I can compare it to Amsterdam.
Yeah, Kees,
I want to
because Amsterdam always sees itself as the startup capital of the Netherlands, even Europe.
And Amsterdam is a great city, which is it not? It's not a great city.
No, exactly.
It's the whole in Amsterdam. It's a lot of fluff. It's a lot of fluff. People are talking. People are this. And what I mentioned earlier with Amsterdam, when somebody needs to do something, they always say, "Oh, I know a guy or a girl who can do this." Instead of in Rotterdam, it's just very simple and clear, and we get the shit done. We are maybe a little bit too modest about it. But I think that the most of the talent and the working attitude is really here in Rotterdam. So I love Rotterdam for.
Okay, for a lot of reasons. And is it also a city where you can find enough talent? Because that's very important, of course, for your company.
Yeah, sure. So that's something that also the organization of Upstream, Up Rotterdam, is working on together with a lot of great people in the ecosystem, and we're making great steps there. But we're definitely not there yet. We need to invest way more in talented people. We need to start way earlier. We need to start it at primary schools. We need to make sure that in all levels of the educational system. For example, technology education is way more important. Will become way more important. But we're doing not that bad. This region has enough talent. But the thing is, we need to keep them here. A lot of very talented people are still moving into other cities, while the opportunities here are tremendously big. And so we need to have a bigger mouth. And I completely agree with Kees on that. And that's also the reason that these kind of initiatives, like this festival now in Rotterdam, are so important for the city. So big props to the organization on that.
All right, that's good. We have another question. This is for Hans. How do you choose the right partner to start your company with?
I think my first partner is asking this question right now, hopefully. No, I think that is very important, and that's also one of the struggles that I think.
Because a lot of people, they start a company with just a friend or someone they know from school, from university, but it's not always the right choice.
No, for sure. I think you need to be very picky on who you want to work with, and because this is so much more than working together. It's basically starting a marriage and sharing so many things and so many hours and so many of your passions.
Because how many founders does Helloprint has?
Yeah, so we started with 4 founding partners, and we all had that same vision and the same dream to work super hard and become the biggest platform in the world. But I also learned that what I will never do again is start a company with people who are not completely 100% all in. For example, who want to invest from the very first start, but are not willing to put that 100 hours in like yourself. And I think that if you have a dream, then it's all about commitment. So there's only you're in or you're out. There's nothing in between.
Be 100% dedicated.
And I learned that I found that very difficult or even unacceptable for myself to work with people who are not sharing that same mentality. And that's not their problem. So I need to be way more picky on, if I start a new company, what's the composition of my team? That's your cap table with your investors, but it's also the whole team who is working from the very first moment on building and growing the company. And I think that's one of the most essential things to think about before you start a company, because just like you say, normally it's a sort of natural process. You meet somebody, at your school or at a society or something somewhere else, you think, okay, he can do something what I can't do, or we share the same intrinsic motivation, let's start a company. Yeah. But I think you need to define it more as a recruitment process yourself as well. So really define, are we a right match? Yeah. So go on dating before you go to bed, and before you marry.
Yeah, in case when you have found the partners, the co-founders of the company, I've been told there are some companies who actually do premeditation to prevent certain accidents in the nearby future.
That would save me a lot of trouble.
Yeah, but is that a good advice?
Yeah, I think that within a marriage or within...
do you have any experience with that?
Well, what we had like, not in my marriage, but we had like an advisory board, and they were more or less the mediators for us in the times where things got tough. Yeah. In the end, you know, we all had the crisis of 2001 and 2009, and there were specific moments where it was good to have like a third party, sort of like making sure that the opinions were more aligned. Yeah. So yes, I would do that.
All right. And I also see another question coming in, also both for Hans and Kees. Do you have any tips or tricks for scaling up innovation? Well, that's...
I have a quick tip. So there's the first of all, if you have a going business that needs to innovate radically, not incrementally, but radically, you cannot ask the same people who run your business to do the innovation at the same time. Yeah. So you need to keep that apart. And then the moment it starts working, then you put it back into the organization. Yeah. If you give people 2 jobs and innovate and serve a client, they will always choose the client, and you will never get the innovation. So get it out of the processes, and then it will go faster and better. Okay. Good.
Yeah, I think I firmly agree with Kees, and it really depends on the phase you are in. So like if you are a startup, then you are an innovative company. Everything that you do is innovate, innovate, innovate. If you are scaling up, things are becoming a little bit more vague. Is it, am I building a sustainable, growing business, and am I building processes, etc.? Yeah. Or do I still need to innovate? And it also depends on the level of scaling and the phases within scaling up your company. And the phase after that, in your growth phase,
you should design it. You should design the scaling up. You should design the innovation. It should not be like a random. Okay, you are now the innovator, and it should be designed in terms of how the processes will work.
Yeah, and to give an example how we do that, how we cope with that currently at Helloprint. So we see, we're now almost 8 years old. Processes are very important. We work on sustainable growth, but we still want to innovate. So we have separated now part of the business. We make a little startup in a startup, where it's called now Merch by Helloprint, a merchandise business on demand worldwide. Super high potential, but that only works if you completely define that again as a startup. So design the team, make sure they can fail the whole day, and learn, fail, repeat that, and improve, and eventually then that company hopefully will scale up and will become into the same problem phase that the running business has. And then you need to do it again and again and again. But allow yourself, and also your budget that you agree on with your shareholders, etc., to really have that innovative power and to have the ability and the agility that you can keep failing and innovating. And I think that's super essential. But also for the entrepreneur, that's essential, because if that's not the case anymore, then what are you doing as a founder or a business leader in the company?
And then the business is slowly dying without nobody knowing it. And then after a couple of years, the business is dead.
In case actually a lot of companies struggle with that, to keep that innovative, moving action, or just the stuff to still be innovative.
Also,
after
because
10 years?
the ambition of the founder is then dropping off. Because then you have, like, say, 30 people or 50 people. You do 5 million or 10 million. You get 200,000 or 300,000 a year, and then things are fine. If there's not this burning ambition of trying to create something that has never been done before, or what you say, I want to build a global platform, the #1 platform. So it starts with the ambition. And then everything follows. But without the ambition, it sort of like drops off, and everything is fine. And
that's an accelerator for the company.
Absolutely, it's the energy, it's the direction. It's
Well, we still have like 1 minute to go. It's going quite rapidly. In case we haven't heard your secret yet. Yeah. So, come on. What can you share with us and to all those thousands and thousands of people who are watching at this moment?
Yeah, well, I have so many secrets, but let me do a nice one.
Yeah.
And that is, as an entrepreneur, you are always in the spotlight. You always take the stage. You are always the center of attention.
Yeah. Well, at this moment, we are literally in the spotlight.
Yes, it's pretty bright spotlight.
Spotlight.
But never ever forget that the reason you can do that is in most of the situations, not in your situation, but in most of the situations, you have somebody at home who is taking care of that. So never ever forget that you are allowed to do what you do because you have somebody else who helps you with that.
Yeah.
And if you forget that, then you're gonna regret it. So that's just one. I have many advice, but I think this is the most important.
So Hans, how's your marriage going?
I don't want to talk about that.
All right. But it's a good advice.
No, it's a super good advice. It's very essential, I think. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Well, guys, thank you very much for this open conversation.
Our pleasure.
Thank you for watching, of course. My name is John van Schagen, and I was talking to Kees de Jong. He's founder of several companies, and also Hans Scheffer, the co-founder of Helloprint, and both really good Rotterdammers. Thank you very much.